Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. I'm Tash, and if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. And if you're new here, this is a weekly podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing during the week, and I also put out regular tutorials answering questions that people have asked me or just something that I've learnt in my knitting that week. So this week I have two finished objects, one that I was working on last week and one that was cast on and finished this week, and they are both hats. So I'm going to start with the Oslo hat by PetiteKnit. And I knit this out of Madelinetosh, that's searingly bright here, Madelinetosh DK Twist in the colourway Neon Red. I knit it on the recommended needle size of a 3.5mm needle. I did a provisional cast on because I didn't want to have to go back and pick up the stitches from the cast on, so I did a provisional cast on, and that's the main difference that I did compared to the pattern. Other than that, and maybe I knit it a tiny little bit shorter in the body. So other than that, I followed the pattern. I started off with 112 stitches and I just had a feeling it was going to be too big, and so I ripped that out and started again on 104 stitches, which is actually the junior size, and I have a pretty average size head. It's my head is 21.75 inches, which is I think 55 centimeters, maybe 55.5 centimeters. Yeah, 55.5 centimeters, which is, I believe, average. Anyway, so what did I do? I did knit this slightly, like a tiny bit shorter. I think this is meant to be like 7.5 inches, and I did maybe six and, folded over 6 3/4 inches. And then I did a couple of centimeters here and then turned the hat as following the directions. Oh, the only other thing that I did differently too with the decreases was the pattern has you do one stitch between the two decreases. I did them right up against each other, which is similar to Jared Flood's Turn a Square hat. I think next time what I might do is actually put 2 stitches in between them because they're right up against each other. It's a little bit gapey between, and I knew that in my Turn a Square hats, so I'm not really sure why I did that. Anyway, next time I'll do it similar to the Musselburgh hat decreases where I'll have 2 stitches in between. Yeah, so this hat weighs 99 grams, and so I have 19 grams left. This is the leftovers. So I definitely, with casting on 104 stitches, I definitely got it out of one skein. Because Madelinetosh yarns, it's not a sort of a set weight. If this was correct, like if the yardage was correct, this would be 192 meters or 210 yards. So I ended up, this was slightly shorter here, and then from the turn, the pattern says to knit another 13 centimeters before starting the decreases, and I did 12 centimeters before starting the decreases. But other than that, pretty much the same. It measures 11 inches from this, it's not the cast on edge, but from this bottom edge to the tip, 11 inches. So this is double thick here, but then this is single thick here. So when you fold it over, it's like triple thickness. So what I actually found interesting was in terms of my gauge, when I measure my gauge here on the folded part, I get 22 stitches over 4 inches, which is the pattern gauge. But when I measure up here on the single thickness, I get 24 stitches over 4 inches, so substantially different. So I think because this has been folded over, and when I blocked it, that, because it's had to stretch out over 2 thicknesses, I get 22 stitches over 4 inches here. I haven't actually checked what I got on the inside. I'll have a little check and I'll put it in the down bar. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yes, and it's 9.25 inches from side to side, so that would be 18.5 inches in circumference. So I'll try it on, I'll fold it over. So you fold it over, I think this reverse stockinette side is meant to sort of make it a little bit easier for the turn. And so it's, it's pretty snug, but it's not crazy snug. It definitely blocked out, and it doesn't have that little peak thing. If I wanted the little peaky bit, I probably would have needed to knit about like 13 or 14 centimeters. Or I could make it, if I wanted that, I could make the brim a little bit shorter and have just like a little bit of that, peak thing that, that the hat's sort of designed to have, like a little bit of a top bit. But I think that will keep my ears warm. And yeah, I like it. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, I will say I weighed before I started the decreases, because for me that's quite important, especially if I'm using leftovers. You know, when do I start the decreases? And the decreases took 10 grams. So, but I'll be a little bit more, I'm trying to think if there's, I think I was at, yeah, anyway, I do know the decreases took 10 grams. If there's any other information that's sort of pertinent, I'll put it on my Ravelry page, but I thought you might like to know that. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's the main thing. Am I going to do it again? Yes, definitely. So I talked last week about there being this Oslo hat pattern, and PetiteKnit has also put out one shortly after with this, basically it's the same hat but with mohair. The only differences seem to be, I haven't bought the pattern with mohair, but another viewer did contact me. She didn't send me the pattern or anything, but she just discussed the different sizes, which is actually on the page. So I'll put the two pages side by side up here, and I'll move over so hopefully I can fit them both up there. So the pattern with this pattern here, the one I bought, has 22 stitches over 4 inches. The one with mohair is 23 stitches. This one's on a 3.5mm needle. The mohair one's on a 3mm needle, but obviously you can do that slightly differently. I mean, the construction and the design is the same. And, you know, if you can adjust for gauge, you don't really need both patterns. The mohair, if you're going to pick which one to purchase, I'd probably purchase the mohair one because it has 7 sizes instead of 4 sizes, so you've just got a few more options. But basically, you know, this hat is in multiples of 8, the other pattern is in multiples of 4. Either way, you could, you know, like you can tweak with your numbers based on your gauge anyway. So if I had lighter weight yarn, I'd cast on more stitches. I don't need the other pattern to be able to figure that out. So I don't think I'll buy that one, but I do plan to make one with mohair, and I'll just use this pattern, and I'll probably use, I don't think I'll use a 3mm needle. I think I'll use a 3.25mm needle. That might be a bit small. I haven't done like any swatching or anything, but I think a fingering and a mohair, maybe on a 3.25 would be tight enough. This was pretty dense actually. This is a 3.5mm needle, and that's pretty dense, but that's, you know, I want that to keep me warm. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I've spent a fair bit of time talking about this one hat, but I do plan to make more. So I felt like, you know, I may as well, you know, run through the information. I do plan to make another one with DK Twist. I'm wondering whether I would make, whether I would do it with 112 stitches, because this one's 104. I don't know, maybe I just do 100 and, I mean, that's fine. I don't feel like it's, feel like it's too tight. I'm not going to get, well, I haven't worn it for any length of time. It's extremely hot here, so we'll see. I'll be taking that to Japan though. So right, so that's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2 is Grayson by Camilla Vad. I talked about this last week, so I bought the pattern. Even though it's just a 1x1 rib hat, I thought, well, and I didn't really need to buy it, but I thought, and I don't think you have to, like you can get inspired by something and you know it's a 1x1 rib hat or it's a basic hat. You don't have to purchase something just because you got inspired by it. Like I might be inspired by, in a magazine, a Gucci sweater, but I'm not going to buy the Gucci sweater, but I might knit something that looks like that. But yeah, I don't have to purchase anything that I'm inspired by. Anyway, I did buy this one because I was curious and I thought, well, I'm going to talk about it. I may as well buy the pattern and tell you whether I think you need to buy it. You probably don't. If you've knit enough hat patterns, I did a tubular cast on, so it's on 6mm needles. I'll talk about the yarn that I used. I used the Bichet Bush Lagore Lamb's wool. I'll just grab it actually. This is it here, and I used just under half a skein. I used 48 grams, and this skein weighed exactly 100 grams. And then I used some Rowan Kid Silk Haze in this cream colorway. So those two together, you know, pretty similar value. So, you know, you don't really sort of see one. The mohair just provides a little bit of fuzz factor. And I cast on for the medium size. There's only 3 sizes. Cast on for the middle one. Did a tubular cast on using Judy's Magic Cast On. And then the decreases actually start right here. So this is all you have for the decreases. So I didn't actually weigh it before starting them, but obviously you need very little yarn for the decreases. I think actually I was weighing it, every row took about 0.9 of a gram. So I was kind of hoping that I would be able to get it out within half so that I could use the other half for a second hat. I don't know if I'll do it exactly the same. I might choose another mohair yarn to hold with it just to make it slightly different. And yeah, so it's tip to tip. It's also 11 inches, same as this one here. And it's this one, I suppose you could wear it like slouchy, if you know, like whatever, slouchy, if you wanted, sort of down like that. I mean, I don't think I'd wear it. That would be, that looks funny. You could do it like that, but I plan to wear it folded over. And yeah, I think it's really lovely actually. It's a really nice, it's got nice flush crown decreases, so you don't, excuse me, you don't, well, a lot of mohair today, sorry. Yeah, just really nice. I think I will make another one, but I will hold a slightly different yarn mohair with it because I have so many leftovers. And so I weighed what I used for each. That used 48 grams of this one, and it used, let me see, 12 grams of this, so about 100 meters of yarn. And yeah, it's lovely, it's very nice. I will say about the pattern, there's only a couple of decrease rounds, and or maybe 2 or 3. The first one, the instructions are super confusing. I could not understand what, it tells you to twist the yarn, a couple of stitches, like move them to the right needle and then twist them and move them back to the left needle. I didn't really understand exactly which way to twist them, twisting them together, I figured. Anyway, I sent an email, I sent a Ravelry message to Camilla asking her. I haven't heard back yet, but that was only last night. So, or maybe the night before. Anyway, what I thought I might do though is instead of writing on Ravelry, I might see if I can find her email through the pattern. And some designers respond better by email rather than Ravelry comments. I am hoping that she does respond though, like, or someone in her team responds. That would be, and I will report back because it's good to know, is there pattern support? You know, I've purchased this, you know, 1x1 rib pattern with the only kind of, you know, value in the pattern is the, you know, I suppose the kind of decrease that's in the instructions. And if it's not very clear, then what am I paying for? So, and I guess the stitch count number, but you know, that's a pretty easy figure out. So yeah, so I'm hoping she does respond. Otherwise, like if that's the one point, like value of the pattern and and it's not clear. Anyway, I'll report back if I hear back from her. Right, so that's it for my 2 finished objects. I'm definitely going to make another one of those. I'll certainly use that. And 100 meters of I guess that's a heavy worsted or an Aran weight yarn. I'm sure I've got more of that kind of somewhere in my my leftovers. So yep, and then I've got the mohair. So I'll definitely be taking both of those to Japan because obviously I don't need them here anytime soon. It's the middle of summer here, and I forgot to mention I'm in Sydney, Australia, right? And it's very hot here at the moment. In fact, on Saturday it's meant to be 43 degrees, which is 110 Fahrenheit. So yeah, there won't be any knitwear worn on that day, that's for sure. Right, so I'm up to now Friend from the Vault, which I am wearing. And this is the pattern called Engi by Jennifer Steingass. And I used Madelinetosh MCN Sport. This main colorway is Mourning Dove. And the contrast colors I used were this one's Stovepipe, which is the one that I used for my husband's saddle shoulder jumper and the Purl Soho ribbed hat that I showed off last week. And so it's actually all the same yarns, all Madelinetosh MCN Sport. These ones here were leftovers. This is the colorway Carmine, and this is the colorway Antler. So this is another one where I turned it into a dress. I'll stand up and show you. Right, so this is, this one's a little bit snugger than the one that I showed off last week, which was Winfell. So Winfell, the chest circumference was 32 inches, which is no ease for me. This one actually turned out to be 29 inches. So my gauge actually, I wasn't expecting it to, but my gauge When I've used this yarn before was 21 stitches over 4 inches, but when I measured it on here, it's 22.5, so it's definitely a bit tighter. I used 3.75mm needles. The pattern gauge is 21 stitches, which is why I cast on for the smallest size, which is 30 3/4 inches. And I thought, oh, that will, I'll probably get around a 31 inch bust, but my gauge was a little bit smaller, which I wasn't expecting. Anyway, it ended up 29 inches. So I increased to 40 inches for the hem circumference. It's a tiny bit longer than my Windfell dress. It's 24 inches long instead of 23 inches, but otherwise the same sort of concept, just increasing on either side of a side marker. I did do a video on how I worked out how frequently to do the increases for the Windfell dress, which could be applied for any other dress pattern or a sweater pattern that you want to turn into a dress. I just haven't done the editing yet, so I'll do that and make sure I get that up shortly. Anything else? Oh, I did want to mention the way this pattern is written is actually written as a like a hybrid. So you cast on provisionally here, and then you do there's actually some raglan decreases here, and then the yoke, and then an I-cord bind off. Then you pick up from the provisional cast on, separate the sleeves and work down the sleeves and the body of the sweater, which for me was a dress. That's actually how this one is designed. The Windfell sweater was just completely bottom up, which I then converted into this style. So it's quite nice if you've already got a pattern that's written sort of in that way, and then you go, oh, okay, well, how did the designer do it for this one? Particularly, it's the same designer, Jennifer Steingass. So I knew, I was like, okay, this is what she did for this sweater, then I did this similar thing for the Windfell dress. Right, so yeah, I like it. This is probably one that I don't wear as much. I think the color work, although I like it, it doesn't call to me as much as some of my other ones. But yeah, it's a really nice design. This yarn is super soft. It's totally, Madelinetosh MCN Sport is completely next to skin soft. There is no prickle factor. Yeah, I just really love it. It is actually one of my favorite yarns. I don't know, I'll have a look and see if it's discontinued, and I'll put it down below if they're still selling it. I just haven't bought any in a while. I bought this quite a long time ago. I made this in 2019. Right, I don't think there's any other info that I wanted to give about this, but I really like it. I do love a knit dress. It is very comfortable. It's like secret pajamas. Right, so I'm going to get onto my works in progress. I have one new work in progress, aside from the Grayson Hat, which was new and then finished. I have one other new work in progress, and that is, I'll just grab it, is the Anker Summer Tea. I did decide to cast that. I've got so many plans. It was just like, which one do I start? The Anker Summer Shirt, I should say, by PetiteKnit, and I'm using this Habu bamboo, and I'm using smaller needles. I'm using a 3.5mm needle. Now, I cast on slightly smaller than the extra small, so that's how much I've done so far. I cast on 4 stitches less because my gauge is bigger. So the pattern is written for a 20 stitch gauge and I'm getting 18 stitches. This extra small is a 33.5 inch bust, which would have ended up about 37 inches, and that's just a bit too much positive ease for me. So I just cast on 4 less stitches, and then as I do the increases down the yoke, because I've got less stitches, that will end up being about 10 less stitches when I finally finish all of these increases. And then there's some raglan increases at the bottom. And obviously at that point I can adjust. I can do a few more or a few less depending on, how big my sweater's becoming, and because I'll be able to try it on because it's top down. So I'm just gonna hold on to the needles and show it up closer. So I did a tubular cast on using Judy's Magic Cast On, and I actually did a video of this because somebody asked me about that, and I linked them to the video that I watched, but I recognized that video is done with the person who's doing the video. I blanked on her name, Laurelie, I think. She's holding the yarn in her left hand, and so knitting continental, and I know that can be a little bit hard if you hold the yarn in your right hand, to be able to sort of be like, what would that be for me? So I did do a video on that as well, and I've just got to edit it and upload that. So I've got 2 tutorials coming up shortly. So that's the tubular cast on. It looks really nice. It's the same from both sides. I didn't bother knitting the ribbing inside out because it doesn't seem to make as much of a difference. Like if you look at that there, versus the other side. It's not really a big difference. So, but I am adding short rows, and I'm just adding them in the back, like one pair, so 2 short rows here, one, because they're always done in pairs, 1 pair here. I'm just doing them 1 pair here. I'll do 1 after every ribbing section. One thing I did, because my row gauges are slightly shorter, partly because I'm using smaller needles, I did 10 rows here, then I did 11 rows here, and I thought maybe with the cast on they would be about the same, but I think actually the 11 does look a little bit longer. Now I've done 11 here in this 3rd section, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'll make this one 12. So I'll go like 10, 11, 12, and then 13. I don't know, I think that might be, I don't know if I'll do that or not, but so I'm at that point where I either, because I've done 11 rows here, I either do 1 more or I start on the stockinette section. The way where I've been adding the short rows is because there's only meant to be 2 rows of stockinette between the 1x1 rib, where you do an increase row and then you do an extra row where because the increases are just done with yarn overs, and then you actually knit them through the back loop on the next round, I should say, because you're knitting in the round. So after I've done the increases and the round to close the holes, then I do the short rows and then resume knitting in the round. So I'll do 4 in total, 1 after each 1x1 rib section, and then onto the raglan. So I've actually done, that's a fair bit in that, but obviously there's not a whole lot of stitches in the needles in the beginning. It's getting bigger now. What I might do, because I've got a couple of things I want to try on, I'll get changed and I'll try this on. So I've put it on a long needle so I could try it on, and you can see that's where I'm up to, where I'm almost finished the 3rd section. So I've got that plus another section to do. Maybe I should just leave it at 11 and then do another 11, because then I've got raglan increases after that. It might get a bit long in the yoke. I definitely don't want it tight up here. Yeah, I might compare it to my blue one because I've made a previous version. I'll have a look at the blue one. But you can see that is quite stable. That neckline's quite stable when I use Judy's Magic Cast On. It doesn't have a huge amount of stretch. It was enough to get it over my head, but it's quite stable and it's not, you know, like down here. But there's plenty of stretch in the ribbing, but it just keeps it, you know, keeps it from like spreading out here, which I think if I'd done the long tail tubular cast on, it'd probably be out here. So I'm quite happy about that. Yeah, I like it. I don't know how much work I'll get done on this because we're going away on Sunday, and but I would really like it. So I'd like it in my wardrobe for summer. It'll probably be what I work on when I get back from overseas. All right, so I'm just going to take it off. You'll see it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit snug to take it off. Okay, there we go. All right, so that's my only new cast on, because I had 3 new cast ons last week, so that's probably fair. And I do have a few things that I want to get finished. I'm just going to show, let me see what I'll show next. I think I'll show Alpine Bloom because I've made quite a bit of progress on that. But what I think I might do is, because this is not in a position where I can actually try it on, what I might do, because this is on a 3.5mm needle, and the Anker summer shirt is also on a 3.5mm needle, and I only have one really long 3.5 to be able to knit off onto to try it on. So I'll show you this one and then I'll pause and knit that off onto the long needle and I can try it on. So I'm using Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in the colorway. The blue is Nocturne and the variegated pinky colorway is Peach Bellini. So that's Peach Bellini there and Nocturne there. And I think they're coming out really beautifully together. I think that's looking really pretty. You can see there's some short rows in the back, just a few short rows. And I think I'm on row maybe 17 now, because obviously there's not a lot of, and there's, you know, increases as you work down there's 59 rows, and I think I've done 17, so still quite a bit to go, and of course the rows are getting longer and longer. Anything else I want to say about this? Oh yeah, I'll just finish talking about it. So I'm knitting the smallest size, which is actually I'll look it up and I'll put it down here, and my gauge is pretty much spot on because I've used this yarn many times. 23 stitches over 4 inches, 24 stitches over 4 inches on a 3.5mm needle. So the only different thing that I didn't do, I used twisted rib instead of, and I used, did I do Judy's? Yes, I did Judy's Magic Cast On for a tubular cast on. No, I did not. No, I did not. Because this is twisted rib and I didn't want to, yeah, I just wasn't sure how that would look with a tubular cast on. So I just did a long tail cast on. So I'll try that on in a second. I'll just talk about it first and then I'll pause and try it on. We'll get onto a long needle so I can try it on. So, and what I usually do when I do that is I just knit another whole round onto the long needle so that I'm not just like slipping. I actually get a row of work done and then I'll knit off it back onto a short needle. So one thing that I just thought I'd mention, so I'm doing different edgings and I'll do that same twisted rib edging on the sleeves. I will make it a short sleeve. I'm not turning it into a jumper or anything. I'll keep it short sleeve because I think that'll be really pretty. And like I've got some navy pants that I think that would look really nice with, and like wear that to work. So I saw the Autumn Alpine on the Grocery Girls. I think it was Tracy who was wearing it and it looked amazing. And I really loved the sort of the mosaic slip stitches around the neckline. And obviously that's a long sleeve sweater. So I think it's fair enough. I was chatting a little bit last week about whether that's, it's fair to sort of take this pattern and then create another very similar pattern and charge the full amount for it and no discount or coupon code or anything for people who already have this pattern. But I guess there's quite a significantly different neckline. It's not just like what I've done, which is twisted rib. It's got quite a few different things happening in it. Obviously you've got to, because with long sleeves, you space out decreases, which to me is not actually a big deal because honestly, I just do my own thing for sleeves anyway. But I guess that is something that the designer has to, grade and write out because some people want all of that. So yeah, look, I'd say there is probably enough work. And certainly if she turned it into a cardigan, 100% that's a different pattern because that's very different in terms of neck bands and all sorts of, purling back. And not that I would want to do this in a cardigan. Like I imagine if you were going to do this in a cardigan, you would probably want to stick it. So anyway, I will pause and I'll knit off and then I'll try it on. Right, so I've knitted off onto a long needle so I can try it on. And I thought I'll let you see. It's a tubular, no, not a tubular cast on, just a regular long tail cast on. And I'll just try it on. Try not to poke my eye out with a needle. Yeah, so it's coming along nicely. That was pretty easy to get on. It didn't have any difficulty. Yeah, I think that's going to be really lovely and delicate. And I think I'm happy to have this as a short sleeve top that I'll wear with navy pants for work. And because I've already got the pants, I'll be able to try it on and make sure it sits nicely with, like the length is a good length. So yeah, and I was a bit unsure about the variegation, and I think it's a real winner. I really like it. So I might even take this one to Japan because that might be quite nice. Plain knitting, I think. I find once I've got a rhythm with the row that I'm on, I don't have to look at the chart. So it's not like I have to have it, in front of me the whole time. I can sort of, like for that row that I just worked, it was 414, 232. 414, 232, 414, 232, the whole way around. And I know kind of what I'm stacking on top of. So I know what the 4 is meant to sit on top of, and that the 1 is like the one line that runs, like is sort of a marker between every single flower. So I can, look down at my work, and if I do get off, if I've sort of made the 4 a 3 or something or got a bit off, I'm like, hang on, I'm on the wrong colour now, and I'm only a few stitches. So I don't have stitch markers along, because I can usually tell where I'm at in the pattern. So anyway, I've just done row 18. I've got another 41 rows for the colour work to go. But yeah, I'm kind of, when I first started the colour work on this, I think I did maybe 16 rows in, maybe not quite, but almost 16 rows in one day, because I was just like, wanting to see it knit up. So, and the rest of the design is really, really pretty. So I'm looking forward to finishing this one. So that's Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter. Right, so let me see. My next work in progress is the field sweater. And so just getting my notes back up. And I finished one sleeve. So I just finished that this morning. So I'll try it on. Yeah, I'm so happy with this. Now, I won't be able to have it on for very long because it's so hot here. I've woven in quite a lot of the ends, and I blocked it up to about here. So I blocked the whole sweater and I was at about this point. You can probably sort of see this is, I don't know if you can see, that's where I blocked it up to there, and then I just worked out to make sure like how much longer I wanted to do. So I didn't do any sleeve, oh sorry, I'll try it on and then I'll talk about the pattern in a minute. I'll keep it on as long as I can because it's just so lovely. Right, so the pattern is the Field Sweater by Camilla Vad. I am using, this is actually, I'll just grab it. This is all the yarn that I have left, which will be plenty because I only have one sleeve to go. So I started a new ball for this sleeve and I've still got 30 grams. So I've got another new ball, so I'll definitely have at least 60 grams of this left over. And I will actually start a new ball because I already have plans for the leftovers. So yes, and so I'm holding, this is Isager yarn, this is Highland wool in the colourway Rhubarb, and this is their silk mohair in a colourway number, which is all on my Ravelry page. So that's what I've got left of the mohair, and that's what I've got left of this. So I've definitely got plenty of yarn and enough for, I'll talk about that in my plans. Right, so I'm knitted pretty much to pattern except that I did a Judy's Magic cast on tubular cast on, so that's why that neckline is quite high and quite stable. I did knit this ribbing inside out on a 3.5mm needle, which is the recommended needle size. I just didn't tell you to do it inside out. I don't know if it makes enough of a difference, but for here I thought this is right around the neckline. If it makes even a little bit of difference, it's worth it. The pattern told you to use so it's a 4mm needle for the body. The pattern told you to use a 4mm needle for the bottom ribbing as well. And I just know that I find that looks a bit sloppy. So I went to a 3.75mm. So it hasn't cinched it in. I think the 3.75 looks good, but I would maybe have even just done it on a 3.5 without any trouble. But anyway, I'm happy. I'm certainly not changing it. And I did a tubular bind off. For the sleeves, the pattern actually told you to pick up 2 extra stitches under the arms to get up to 64 and then decrease them straight away, which I did. But in hindsight, I could have just kept them because 64 would have been fine. Just give me that tiny little bit of extra ease there. Anyway, it's fine. It's not a problem, but I would have, like if I was to do it again, I'd keep the extra 2. And then what I chose to do, because I have quite a big watch and I wanted that to come over it, and I also didn't want it tight on my forearm. I didn't do any decreases at all, and then I just did a rapid decrease. I think I did like a decrease down to 60 stitches, and then I did a rapid decrease of knit 3, knit 2 together, so that turns 5 into 4. Yeah, so that got me from 60 to 48. So I've got 48 stitches, and I chose to use a 3.5mm needle for the cuff, and I did a tubular bind off for the cuff as well, and I just finished that this morning. So I have one sleeve to go, which I'm super excited about because I love second sleeves, because obviously once you're done with that, if you've done the whole body, you're finished now. And I know exactly what I'm doing. I've counted how many rows, and I know exactly, like I'll do the exact same thing on the other one. So I'll probably do some of this over the next couple of days. If I don't get it finished before we go to Japan, I'll just take it on the plane and finish it. So yeah, really happy with this. And I think it looks really nice with blue jeans. I think it's really elegant. I cast on for the 37-inch size, which is the smallest size, but my gauge was different. My gauge was enough, like substantially different, like 22.5 stitches instead of 20. As a result, mine is measuring about 33 inches, so about an inch, maybe inch and a bit of, I haven't checked it after blocking. So if it's any different than 33 inches, I'll put it down here as to what it ended up. And I actually really quite like that sort of slightly, it's not a full-on balloon sleeve or anything, it's just a bit of what I would call maybe a gathered cuff. And I like that. And it also means when I push it up, I can push it up, but it will stay up. So it's not too big that it will fall down, but it's not too tight that I can't actually get it up onto my forearm. So yes, so I'm going to take it off now because it's really hot. I'm just going to see if there's anything else I was going to tell you about. Yeah, no, I think that's it. Yeah, I love this. I possibly would make it again, but not anytime soon because these grains took a while, and I could do cabling without a cable needle. I've done that plenty of times in other patterns. I just feel like it's a bit high stakes here to do that with the 3 stitches for the grains, and I kind of don't mind using a cable needle. For this, I probably still would use the cable needle. And I love it so much I can see myself making another one because I think it's beautiful. Anyway, I've got to get it off because it's hot. All right, my last 2 works in progress are not super exciting. So I've got a total of 5. So I had a wool top, a bamboo top, a wool sweater, and I've got a shawl which is Dotted Rays by Stephen West, and I'm using Dingo Dyeworks Jumbuck yarn, and I haven't made any progress on that. That's ready to go as my travel knitting for Japan, so I didn't really want to do any on that. I wanted to take that with me, so that's all ready to go with me. I mean, I keep it, I tend to take all my whips with me everywhere in a big bag because I never know what I might want to work on, and something might get like, you know, to a point where I can't work on it anymore, and then that's the only knitting I've got. Or I went to Christmas drinks the other day for work, yesterday, and I was knitting on the sleeve of the field sweater, and I was knitting using sorry, I'm just grabbing this thing. I was knitting using like a long Knit Picks cable, and I went to do like magic loop, and the that, I don't know if you can see that, just like when I went to pull on it, it just popped right out. And so, like, of course I had the tip on it as well, and like the stitches are all falling off the needles, and I was like, trying to get it on. So I didn't want to risk doing that. So I had in my bag, I had this in my bag. Unfortunately, when I picked it up, I wasn't paying attention, and I started knitting inside out. So I made a short row, did a whole row, and was like, what's wrong here? This is like not far out. So yes, as much as knitting is really good and easy, you know, I can think, it's a 1x1 rib, I can do it in my sleep. If I'm not paying attention this is, you know, it's always do as I say, not as I do. You should always pay attention when you pick up your knitting, give it just that, you know, extra half a second to look at it. Is this the right way around? Because if you start knitting in reverse, after you've done that first stitch, you won't know it until you're the whole way around the end of the round. So unless you look down and pay attention. But I was chatting and whatever. Anyway, so I had to undo that whole round. And I find undoing a round takes longer than knitting a round. It takes like twice as long. So in the time I could have got 3 rounds done, I was back to 0. Anyway, that's all just part of it, isn't it? So anyway, so this, I reckon this afternoon I'll get this on, get this straight onto needles ready to go, so that I've got like, you know, because I know exactly what I'm doing. I want to make progress on this one. So I showed Dotted Rays, one more to show, and that is the Skimmer socks by Sheila Toy Stromberg. Sorry, my chair's so creaky. I'd love to have things that don't make noise like this. Sheila Toy Stromberg using Wren and Ollie sock yarn. I think I've just done a few rows when nothing else was at a point where I could knit on it, so I just did a little bit of that. I'm not sure if I'll take this to Japan. I mean, obviously it's not very big knitting. I can't see myself taking that on the plane, because I'm not going to be taking my shoes off and trying this on the plane to see if it's at the right length. So I might just pack that in my bag for, like, you know, in the hotel or something, in the hotel room knitting, because it's still a good thing. And also, of course, if I was on the second sock, that would be totally fine, because then I'd just do the same for the second one, just like the second sleeve. So anyway, but I'm not, this is the first sock. So if I could get to, you know, I'm not in a rush for this. I might pack it, we'll see. Because obviously it doesn't take up a lot of room in the luggage. So that's it for my works in progress. Where am I up to? What has caught my eye? So the 2 things that just recently caught my eye is, or somebody mentioned it and I thought, oh, that's really beautiful, is the Salty Air Tea by Samantha Guerin, I think. And I'm thinking maybe I could turn it into a dress and use the Purl Soho linen quill in the vintage Celadon. Do I have it somewhere? I don't know where it is. Anyway, I'll see if I can put a picture of it, or if I find it, I'll hold it up. I'm thinking, yeah, I might use that. It's not up to plans yet, but I'm thinking about it. And the other thing that caught my eye was the Moby Sweater by PetiteKnit, which uses a DK weight yarn plus a mohair. It just looks really nice and cozy, and yeah, I mean, obviously I don't need anything like that anytime soon, but it caught my eye and I thought, oh, maybe for winter next year. It has some nice cables and just looks like a nice cozy, relaxed sweater. So they're the two things that have caught my eye. I'm up to purchases, and then I might take a break before I do plans and get a drink of water. Right, so purchases, I'll just show you really quickly. I bought these earrings a few weeks ago. Oh, I don't know if you can see them. They've got these little pretty, they're like a little pretty wreath, so they're like Christmas. These are earrings that my daughter Mia got for my I may have already shown them, for my 50th birthday. And this is a necklace that the kids got me a while ago. It's got 3 little dolphins on it, and I have 3 children. So Zach is the silver, my boy, he's the silver. Mia's the gold, and Alex is the rose gold. So just wearing some different jewelry today, so I thought I'd show you. And the other thing that is not a purchase, but I was thinking about it, I almost bought it. So when I was knitting the field sweater, and I was on the sleeve, and usually I like to go up a needle size when I'm knitting the sleeves, because I do knit a bit tighter magic loop. And especially when I went down to 62 stitches and it was feeling just a little bit tighter than I would have liked, I was like, oh, I wish there was a 4.25 millimeter needle, because I didn't really want to jump from a 4 to a 4.5. I thought it might be a bit much. In hindsight, I should have just kept the 2 extra stitches and kept it at 64 stitches, because it's not, the gauge isn't so much tighter that it's, you know, like, whoa, that looks different. But I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to have a 4.25 millimeter needle? Well, they make them in Japan. There's a company called Tulip that makes a 4.20 or 4.25 millimeter needle. So I thought, oh, I wonder if I could get them when I'm in Japan. It may be difficult, because I had a look on the Walnut website, Walnut Kyoto, and there was almost none in stock. There was like one, I think it was maybe even a 60 centimeter in length. That's not going to do much for me. I need at least 80 centimeters to be able to magic loop. So yeah, and I don't know, it's like I'm leaving in a few days, so I don't even have enough time to sort of order it and ask them to have it there for me. So anyway, I thought I'll have a look on Amazon and see if anywhere else sells them. There are a few places, you know, in the US that sell them, but obviously then it's a bunch of shipping. And on Amazon, they were selling for $39 Australian, 100 centimeter. I almost bought it. But like Walnut Kyoto is selling them for $14. So that's hard, like, to justify that. But I was also like, well, if, you know, even if I bought them from overseas and then I paid shipping, and I think it is actually overseas anyway, I think they're coming from Germany. So anyhow, I almost bought it, but I didn't. But I was thinking that would be great if those needles were a bit more commercially available, and there aren't many companies that make them that size. So I'm sure I will at some point. I have so many needles. I will purchase a 4.25, but I'll try and get one that's cheaper than $39. So yes, but if you can get your hand on one, I reckon it's hands on one. I reckon it's a worthwhile purchase if you do enough of like the sweater in a 4.4 mil needle, and you would like just a little bit up for the sleeves for magic loop. Right, so my upcoming plans. One plan that I have, which I'll do when I get back from Japan, is the Carnaby skirt that I over dyed. I haven't sewn on the buttons yet, but I've at least got as far as putting stitch markers where all the buttonholes were, because I couldn't, it's sort of a little bit felted, and so it was hard for me to, which is fine for a wool skirt, but it was hard for me to figure out where the buttonholes were so that I could figure out where to sew on the buttons. So I've got my buttons and I'm ready to go. I'll sew them on when I get back, and obviously I won't need this anytime soon, but it will be nice to have for winter. So it's an upcoming plan to finish that, and then when that's finished I might get something else out of my Hidden Whips basket. The other plan that I want to do when I get back, which is the half and half wrap, using this Purl Soho linen quill out of Baby Bird Blue and Red Poppy. So that's coming up. Oh, I found the vintage Celadon yarn that I was thinking for the salty air tea. I'm not sure if it's quite made it into plans yet. I have to have another think about whether the gauge works and everything. But yes, I think that would be quite a pretty dress, and I do like 4-ply dresses. You know, they're quite, and there's a bit of linen in that, so yep, that should be nice. I still plan on making the Stovepipe sweater. No, not the Stovepipe. Oh, that's later. The Sailor Swift top, and so I'm still thinking about using these yarns, but I just need to work out, as I was saying last week, a little bit about my gauge, because I bought the pattern, but I'm just a bit unsure about the row gauge. But again, I won't start that till I get back. And I also plan on making the cami number 4, and I've got my swatches done in, and I'm going to use a 3mm needle, and this is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in some kind of pink, raspberry pink colorway. And I do also want to make the where is it, by Sari Nordland, the Kutar top, and I'm going to use this Sanders Garn Tin Lena. There's a swatch in it in a different colorway, just because I have three balls of this and I only have 2 of this. So my swatch is a little bit small, so I might have to do a bit of mathing, but again, when I come back, because I've already got my sort of knitting plans mostly for when I'm away. Now, one thing I had this swatch in this pink Le Gros Lambswool, Bichet Bush Le Gros Lambswool, which is the same yarn that I, but in a pink color that I knit for this hat, for the Grayson hat. And I tried holding it with this mohair and it looked so rubbish. And I think the big issue there is the value's just too different. So I don't have enough of this, because this is what I was thinking of for Magnolia Bloom by another Camilla Vad pattern. And I found this yarn, which was the yarn that I had for my Ingalls sweater, and something like that could work. I don't have enough of this, and I wouldn't want to use exactly the same yarn, but something like that might be better for Magnolia Bloom, and obviously I need to get enough yarn for it. So I might take that swatch overseas with me, because I might find some mohair yarn when I'm in Japan that could work nicely with that. Yes, so they're my upcoming plans. Oh, the only other thing is after finishing that Oslo hat, I thought maybe I might make some more. So I think I mentioned this before, I was flagged this before. I'm going to have enough yarn left over from the field sweater that I think I'll make an Oslo hat with mohair. I think I'll use a 3.25mm needle, and I'll try casting on 112 stitches. I'll see how I go. I'm debating whether to do a swatch or not. I don't really want to. Yeah, I really don't want to. It's a totally different needle size. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's a hat. I'll cast on 112 stitches. If it's a tiny bit big or a tiny bit small, it's not going to be a big deal. Yeah, I'm going to give that one a go. So what I think I'll do is, if I haven't finished the field sweater, I'll take it with me to Japan, and I'll take all of the leftovers so that I can make an Oslo hat. And I'll definitely be packing my scales, because I do, when I'm going to make something new, just like I weighed everything for that Oslo in the DK yarn, I thought I'll definitely do the same for my like I want to weigh it for this one, so I know for repeat knits. Because, you know, with the muscle bra, like I think I've made about 17 of them. With the Oslo pattern, it's probably a little bit quicker, because it's obviously slightly heavier. And yeah, I think that could be a good gift knit or a good repeat knit. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was the Stovepipe sweater, because I did some stash diving. I'll put a picture up here of, like, I pulled all of my tubs of yarn, pretty much all of them out, and was playing around with the baskets. And I've been trying to find yarn for the Stovepipe sweater. So I found this yarn. So I'm just gonna grab a few skeins that I pulled out, because, you know, like, you know, when you're just playing around, you're just like, oh, let me put this together. And what I found, and I knew this was there, I just hadn't sort of really looked at it for a while. If you're from Australia, I'm sure you know, and you're a knitter of roughly my vintage, Peyton's Totem 8-ply. Now, I've had this yarn. I was knitting a sweater out of it, and then I ended up frogging it. But I started knitting a sweater out of this in 1991. So that's how old this yarn is. And it's, you know, been stored in, you know, Ziploc bags, and it's completely fine. And it's a lovely DK weight. It's a crepe yarn, so it's sort of a different kind of construction, but I've got plenty of this, because I had like a whole sweater quantity. and that could be the base. Now obviously I don't have this in other colors, and I don't think I have enough to dye, and I don't think I want to do that, but it's it's a pretty standard DK weight sweater yarn, and I thought, oh, like this is the yarn from my Oslo hat, and I'll put a picture of Kutavakika Veronica Lindberg in her version there, and I really like her colors, and I've been having a look on Ravelry looking at other people's colors, but I do quite like those sorts of bold ones. So I found this red, which is similar to her red. I found this blue, so this is Madelinetosh DK Twist. This is Madelinetosh MCN Fingering in Bloomsbury, so I would hold that double. This is, I can't remember, it's DK Twist. I can't remember the color name. I'll look it up, it's on Ravelry. So those were the ones that she used for like a blue and a pink for the sleeve. She used a red on the bottom of the sweater. She used like what looked like a black in the middle, but I found this one here. This is Madelinetosh Twist DK as well, but in Dahlia, so it's quite a dark purple. So I could use that instead of a black. The only thing I don't have is like a tan, like the caramel that she uses sort of on the top. I found this incredibly bright green, but this is definitely a kid that's a little bit too full on to play with the others. So, but this one, I was wondering, this is Winter Madelinetosh. This is Madelinetosh Sport, Tosh Sport, not MCN Sport. So it's slightly lighter, but it's pretty similar yardage. So 256 meters, and this is 229 meters. So it's not really that much lighter. On the same size needles, you could probably get gauge. So I'm thinking it's not quite the caramel, but it might be quite nice. So it would be like that on the body, and then that on the sleeves, and then that pink around there for their little neckline trim. I don't know, what do you reckon? Do you think, do you like, oh, I actually don't mind those two together. Should I try to match the caramel, or do you think that's pretty, and obviously we'll have the cream in between everything. Yeah, anyway, I'm thinking I might have actually found yarn that's all in stash. That would be super exciting, because I would like to do that. So anyway, curious to hear what you think about all of those crazy colors. Yeah, it would be nice to sort of knit that pattern out of stash. The only other thing that is kind of my future focus is Snow Wonder by Heidi Kiermaier, and I will be looking for an icy blue yarn, either Shelter, Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, or similar to Shelter, when I'm in Japan, if I can find any. If not, it might have to be just an online purchase. Right, I think I'm up to like other craft, of which I've done none, and I will do some sewing in the holidays later when I get back from Japan, but nothing. We're leaving in 3 days, so before I jump into the personal stuff, I'll just talk about my upcoming video schedule. So I usually put out a video every week, which if I upload it, if I can get it up on Thursday night in Australia time, I try to, certainly by Friday morning at the latest, my time. So I'll get this one up, but then I really don't know we're away for 2 weeks. We're leaving on Sunday, so I don't know what my video schedule will be like. I'm gonna try and take recordings in Japan, but I don't know what the upload will be like what my Wi-Fi will be like, whether it will be, so I don't think there'll be like normal episodes for at least 3 weeks. So I'll do one when we get back. Yeah, so I don't know exactly, but that's kind of the plan. So there won't be sort of a regular schedule for at least a few weeks. Anyway, everyone's getting busy with Christmas and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I'll try if I can do little, because I do most of my editing, like all the stuff on my phone. If the Wi-Fi is fast enough to upload, I'll put a few things along, and it doesn't take too long to edit. I'll put a few things along the way. Most like it'll be when I get back though, just because I think we've got a lot of moving around in Japan. So. Right, so I think that's it for this. Oh, actually, I will just show you one other thing, because I'm making those Oslo hats. I do actually, and I was like playing around with my mohair. So if you happen to have this is my basket of mohair leftovers. Actually, I think I have one that's like, or a couple that is like a full sweater quantity. But other than that, I have like I have a ball and a half of that, and I have a ball and a half of that, and I have a full sweater quantity of that one. I have like 40 grams of that one, and I have about 24 grams of that one. That's from my balloon sweater. That's from my cruiser cardigan. It's so fun. That's the leftovers from my ranunculus. So I think I've got about 20 something grams of that one. I love, I've got a black one from a top. So like, I just think about how nice all of these, I've got, do I have enough of that one? I have so much leftovers. This color, is that the same? Yeah, I've got a fair bit of that one. So I love leftovers. Like, I'm always like, oh, what can I make with that? And now when I found a new pattern like the Oslo hat, I'm like, oh, I can make that with mohair. So anyway, oh, that's from my my red ranunculus. So yeah, so I've got lots of, I can see lots of Oslo hats with mohair coming up in my future. So like, you know, I'll start with this one, and also you can also do them with fingering weight held double. So you could do like fingering weight in a mohair, or you could do fingering weight held double. So that would probably, and I've got lots of fingering weight scraps. So anyway, lots of good ideas and plans coming up. So I'm going to get into the personal stuff now. So if you're leaving me now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you maybe in a few weeks' time. If you come back, that would be really nice. If you can like and subscribe, then you'll see when I put out a new video. And I'm going to move on to the personal stuff now. Right, so it was my husband's birthday last Saturday. We went out for brunch with our 3 children, and that was the best bit, just being out for brunch with our 3 kids. We had to squeeze it in between Zach's driving lesson with a learner driver instructor, and Mia was working, she was tutoring, so we had like a window of 45 minutes, and we have a cafe just up the road. And you know, to have someone make you coffee and breakfast, and the kids played Risk with Paul. I don't play that, they just play on the iPad. I like watching it and watching them get all salty with each other. It's quite funny. So that was Saturday, and Sunday just church in the morning with my mum, and then getting my last few lessons written for school. I've now finished my last classes. So it's Thursday, the 7th of December, I can't remember if I said that, Thursday, the 7th of December today, and I've got my last day at school tomorrow. I've got first aid, a first aid course. I've got to do some homework. As soon as I finish recording, I have to do my homework and answer some questions and submit it. It's just a refresher, so I think it's just CPR tomorrow. So we have to do that I don't know if it's like that in other countries, but in Australia, you have to do a full first, as a teacher, full first aid every 3 years, and then CPR once a year. So I've got that tomorrow morning, and then some Christmas, like Secret Santa with our maths faculty, and then we're going down to like a kids camp area kind of thing. We're all going for a lunch, and it's in the national park. They're going to take us down on a bus, which is great because then I can knit on the way down, and yeah, and then that's it for school for the year. I have lots of work to do over the holidays when I get back from Japan. So I don't have to do anything for at least a couple of weeks, and then after Christmas I'll start getting you know, all my lessons and things ready for next year. Yeah, so that's oh, and the other thing that's coming up, so Friday's, you know, pretty busy work day. Busy, like it's a work day. The first day is the one work thing. Other than that, it's just like lunch and hanging out. Saturday, we've got the Foo Fighters concert in the evening, so I'll definitely be packing. I'm a bit of a late packer. I'll be packing on Saturday, and then on Sunday lunchtime, we're flying out so me, Paul, and Zach are flying out to Japan. So just the 3 of us. The girls will stay behind and work and look after our dog Gus, and you know, look after the house, please. Look after each other. Yeah. Anyway, hope so. So that's what's coming up. I'm super excited about Japan. I'm definitely going to Walnut, Kyoto, and I'm going to try and get into Avril. But I have to have a think about what yarn I would maybe even want to buy there, or what it would be for. So I'm curious if anybody else used like much novelty yarn, what they've used it for. Yeah, my mum used to do some knitting back in the day, and they have these like cardigans with novelty yarn, but I just haven't seen a lot of it. Pope Vergara uses a bit of that in her, but you don't use a lot. But of course, if I have no plan, what am I going to do? How much am I going to buy? What am I going to buy? What's it going to go with? So I need to have a plan. So anyway, curious to hear if anyone's used much, you know, like shimmer, glitter yarn, and what you've used it for, what you've held it with. I think I've seen Karen, because Urena Girl has done a little bit of that, maybe with a ranunculus or something. I'll have to have another look at her project page, because I know she's used it a little bit. But yes, happy to hear input from anyone else. Yeah, I think that's it. Time to get off and do my first aid and edit this video and get it up. Oh, and because I have those 2 tutorials already recorded, I'm going to try and get those edited and like ready to release while I'm away. So I've at least, you know, done the busy bit and uploaded them here while I've got good Wi-Fi. Right, hope everyone's knitting plans and Christmas plans are going well, and yeah, that you're winding down and able to spend some good time with family and friends. And I'll see you, I guess, after Christmas. All right, take care, bye.